Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Let me tell you something. In this scrim, this might have been the best overall that I've seen OpTic Chicago play. And honestly, it just kind of surprised me a little bit. So the first map that they played was Crossroads Hardpoint. And in that one, there was like a connection issue. Somebody lagged out, so they didn't get to finish it. But after that, they won every single map against this Minnesota ROKKR squad, and this one was an absolute beatdown. So when it came to Garrison, they won like 250 to 170, somewhere in that range. When it came to Raid, kind of the same, like the 250, 170, 180 range. And then this map, they absolutely went off. We talked a little bit yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's video against Dallas Empire, make sure you go check that one out. But we talked about how this has kind of been their bread and butter, right? This is the map that they're really good at. And it just continued throughout this one. And probably the most surprising thing is they actually won by quite a lot on Checkmate. And that's a map that it doesn't matter who they play, doesn't matter when they played at the beginning of the year or now. Checkmate is just a map that they are not very good at, and they came out and they won that one too, and it was by quite a bit. So overall, needless to say, it was a really impressive scrim, at least throughout these hard points for OpTic Chicago against Minnesota ROKKR. I really do think that Minnesota, by the time all the tournaments roll around and all of that, I do think that they're going to be one of those top 6, top 5, maybe top 4. I just feel like their SMGs are super talented. Accuracy, of course, super talented at that main AR position. So I feel like they have all the pieces. It's just putting in the work, putting in the time, getting the team chemistry down and all that. And I think that they have what it takes. But right now, as it rotates over towards P3, first set of rotations here, they didn't do a great job of holding those spawns for P2. So you'd think in a game where they end up winning like 250 to 67 or something like that, you would think that since they initially were able to get those P2 spawns, they would have done a nice job of holding that out. But just didn't go their way. Nice kill there from Scump while he was stunned on attach. And from here on out, I think you're going to see quite a beatdown come through. So as Scump died right there, they're about halfway through P3. Obviously, they have spawns in the back from Formal and Dashy pushing out the back of these spawns. Now he might spawn out unless they were able to trade that out. So yeah, so they were able to push through. You saw Scump die, and you saw them be able to push that hard point. And again, remember, this is like a 250 to 70 victory. So all of these points that Minnesota is getting right here, basically all that they get for the remainder of this matchup. So again, P2, Chicago had those initial spawns. They had map control. They got pushed out. P3, it flipped on the opposite side. They also got pushed out for P3. And now for P4, they, again, weren't really able to regain those spawns. P4 on Moscow just happens to be one of those maps that you can hold from either side. Sure, it's easier to hold from that left side P3 spawn, but either way, you can still, like what they're doing right now, if you get inside of P4, you push out a little bit further into those choke points, kind of like where Scump's at right here in gold. You push out a little bit further up towards Bus to hold your enemies inside that bank area. That's really how you take advantage of a map like this and this P4 hardpoint from the bad side. For the first time, let's go ahead, let's bring up our mini map just so that we can talk through and show exactly what we were talking about. So OpTic is getting this spawn here, and they have control of P4 as they're working through. Scump, you just saw him finessing inside of this gold room right here. Now, he did go down, but that was a pretty extended gun battle, and by forcing a gun battle in this area of the map, that really takes the pressure off his teammates that are inside of P4. And again, once you're inside of P4, then you can push forward towards Bus or even get over into this corner or even push into this bank area. And once you start pushing them back, then you start getting kills in these locations. You can even push up to this elbow area and lock down this. So this is one of those maps that, even though Minnesota did finish out the time inside of P3 and they had what you would probably consider to be these beneficial spawns, to get to P4, you have to go through one of these routes here. And if you push up and you counter all of those routes, then obviously there's no way that they can get through. And as we get back into the actual gameplay here, we're about to rotate towards P1 in the second set of rotations. As we go towards P1, obviously just like they had on the first set of rotations, you want to have control of that right side of the map, that P2 side of the map, so that when it does eventually pop, you can get all of that time and just continue to rack up the score from there. So we've talked about all of the rotations and the strategy involved and what they're looking to do as it rotates over towards P2. So best thing about scrims is that we can actually go ahead, we can listen in, we can hear exactly what they're talking about. So I'll still chime in when I feel like there are things that are super important to explain, but in the meantime, let's go ahead. Let's turn up the team comms as we're rotating towards P2 on the second set of rotations here.
Shoot on me, shoot on me.
Ivory Hill cross.
Priest too weak. Hit him once. I'm about to back up, Court. Priest back left me, Priest back left.
Yeah, I think they're hitting through left.
Priest is hitting left,
Yeah, nothing right.
I'm backing up.
Is he in the back?
You can go.
Yeah, he's pushing the back. He's pushing the back. He could be BSD.
One there, not hurt.
I have the back. Okay?
Watch out, lobby dead.
Jump.
I have the back.
I just want SEs.
Yeah,
They're all
Flood Hill.
Yeah,
Nice, good win. Flood Hill.
I have initial.
Yo, what guys go
I have the back.
I have initial. Play BSD.
Yeah,
Play BSD.
I'm only holding the D back, guys, right?
Already in BS&D.
Grab time, Brandon. Can you grab time?
Oh shit, they're hitting the back though.
You back me, Lamar
You can
dead.
hop off if you need to.
I have my own mid.
I'm helping the back.
Nothing front.
Yo, side door I think.
In the back,
Side door mid.
Nothing
the back,
front.
man, help.
I have your cross, man.
Okay, I'm saying no.
And just remember, as we kind of watch through this here, this is how things can snowball, right? Towards the end of P3, they only had a 10, 15, 20-point lead or so, but they were able to slay out inside of P4 and basically spawn trap Minnesota in their spawn. So they did a nice job inside of P4. As it went towards P1, I think Minnesota might have been focused just a tiny bit too much on trying to flip and not getting time inside of P1. They did make one push in where Scum got a two-piece, and I think DASHY finished out or traded out that last kill. But as it went from P4 to P1 to P2, they basically got all of the time in each of those hard points. So now, as it's rotating out, you're going to see them break pretty quickly because they do put them in the 70-point club. You can see right there, it looks like Envoy was in the back. So Envoy was able, or maybe it was Formal that was in the back. Somebody was in the back. DASHY gets a two-piece with his missile right there, and now there's only 3 seconds left, so you don't really have to worry about flipping out spawns. Just get inside the hard point, get the last few seconds there, and that will end up doing it. So as you go ahead and look at the scoreboard here, Envoy was 22-12, Scump was 21-15, and DASHY was 31-9 with 19 kills in the objective. Just look overall, just look at like the damage numbers right here. Envoy had 2,500, Formal had 2,200, Scump had 2,800 on a map that really only goes like 2 sets of rotations or so. Those are pretty decent numbers. But then you see DASHY dropping almost 4,000 damage. And unfortunately, Scump's camera is in the way on the right-hand side. But Attach had the highest score for them. He only did 2,700 damage. And the other thing to look at here, if you're looking at score overall, DASHY went on a tear. He had almost 5,000 score. Attach had 2,000 score. But then the rest of Minnesota's numbers here, Priesta with 1,000, Major Maniac in the 800s, Accuracy in the 700s. So I think it would be pretty safe to say overall that things probably didn't go the way in both this map and for the scrim as a whole as Minnesota would have wanted them to go. It is what it is, right? We've talked about how in the past 1 week Chicago would scrim Atlanta and they would go like 6-1 map count. Then they would scrim them a week later and they would go like 0-7 map count when it comes to the hard points and the control maps. So it is what it is. These things go back and forth. Probably just a bad day for Minnesota, but unfortunately, they don't really stream their scrims. So the only time we really get to see them is when they scrim Chicago. And this is just kind of what goes out there, right? You would think if you go to the competitive COD subreddit or anything else, you would think, oh, Minnesota got blown out. They lost all of the hard points. They lost Moscow by 200 points. And it kind of snowballs from there when in reality, we just don't see them that much and they had a bad map. So with that, guys, if you're new around here, you enjoy these sort of breakdowns, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you're new around here, as it really helps out the channel. And with that, thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.